Welcome to Self-Led Love with me, your host, Bahia Miller. Together, using the powerful framework of internal family systems, we will take on the spiritual and oh-so-human curriculum of becoming radically responsible for our parts and how they show up and grow up in intimate partnership. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Hello, friends. Welcome back to Self-Led Love. Today, we are going to be breaking down what do we mean by self-led love? What do I mean by self-led love? And if you've read a little bit about me, you'll know that I'm a certified internal family systems practitioner and a conscious relationship coach. IFS is the core modality that I am using when I'm working with individuals and couples to heal relationship issues. And so this kind of goal, this carrot of self-led love that I am encouraging, inviting, and supporting my clients to move towards is really it's a process of taking responsibility for and becoming a steward and guardian and caretaker and advocate for different parts of ourselves. And so the IFS model believes that we all have parts, that we are not one thing. If someone says, oh, well, you're just angry all the time. I am not just anger. I might have an angry part. Or if you just withdraw and run away. Well, it's a little bit different than that because I have a part of me that makes me withdraw and run away. And it's not all of me. And that's what I love so much about this modality. It kind of takes the shame away. It takes us out of this culture of thinking of each other and of ourselves as just kind of, this is the way I am, this is one thing, and kind of starts to pull apart these different aspects of ourselves so that we can build relationship with them from ourself. And what is ourself? Ourself, I like to think of it as kind of our seat of consciousness, seat of awareness, this loving awareness where we have these 8 C's. I don't know if I'm going to get them all right now, but the qualities are courage, confidence, compassion, curiosity, creativity, calm, connection. There's 2 more, but these 8 C's are kind of pointing towards this core essence that no matter what we've been through in our life, no matter how extreme different parts of ourselves or how burdened and heavy different parts of ourselves may feel, we all also, behind the clouds that are those parts, have this sunlight, this unbreakable center within ourselves. And the hope in self-led love is that we can kind of help those parts of ourselves, right? Help liberate them and relieve them from extreme jobs or ways that they've been trying to help us or protect us or defend us or express for us in our relationships. And so that as we build this relationship between ourselves and these parts inside, right? Inside of me, that then I show up differently into my partnership. Okay, so we're going to break this down a little bit more here. So oftentimes I hear people talking about being in self energy or being self-led, like you're either in self or you're not in self. And really, I don't think about it like that. I think about self as kind of this continuum of blending from I am completely in a part of me, like blended, right? It takes over us. It's in the driver's seat of the bus. It's the one running the show. I don't even know that I'm in a part or that a part of me is the one leading in my relationship or in my life. And then on the continuum, the next kind of stop, I would say, is when we start to get, maybe we're not even aware of the part yet, but we start to maybe get a little bit of compassion for ourselves, or we start maybe to notice like, oh, I think that there's maybe a part of me here, or someone else points it out to us and we start to get curious about that or wonder about it. And then there's a point, where we know we're in a part and we can't do anything to get out of that part of us. Like, it's just, I know I'm triggered. I'm still in it, but like, I can't get out of it right now. I'll get out of it later and clean up my mess later. And then, we move into a space of like, okay, I can be with my parts maybe proactively as I notice them happening inside of me. Maybe I can approach my relationships a little bit less blended with these parts of ourselves, parts of myself. I can speak for them instead of from them. And then let's think about this. What is like the ultimate vision of our mature expression? I think that it is our capacity to just keep coming back to ourselves again and again, making repair and cleaning up our messes when our parts make them, because they will. That's just the nature of partnership. And maybe there's a restoration of choice, right? Where we actually get to not live from our old compulsive trauma responses or knee-jerk reactions, but we actually get to kind of help soothe and liberate parts of ourselves that may historically have been activated. And some of those activations and triggers actually, it has been my experience that they really start to fade away as these parts of us start to trust not our partner, but trust ourselves, and then also our partner. But the reason I said not our partner is because a lot of the time, younger parts of ourselves, right, more vulnerable parts that maybe didn't get what they needed long ago in family of origin or in other relationships, we're looking for our partner to help complete us. We are looking for them to be the savior that is going to make it all okay. And this is where we get stuck, because we are going to let each other down when we're in this paradigm. And I'm thinking of many couples that I've worked with who've really tried so hard to do that for each other, but then they've ended up abandoning themselves and their own needs in the process. And so the way that our parts and our partner's parts kind of work together can be such a rich and juicy kind of mirror for trailheads to explore, ways to heal, ways to grow, if we're able to take on these opportunities for our own growth and healing that come up in intimate partnership. So as you get to know me, you'll hear me use this phrase, radical responsibility. And I feel like taking responsibility for our parts is radical in the world that we live in, where again, everyone is looking outside of themselves for not everyone, right? And a lot of people come to me really asking for help becoming responsible because they don't want to keep outsourcing their power. But we live in a culture that is outwardly focused and distracted by what we're seeing online. We're in comparison, and we have this fantasy that someone is going to come and help and make us feel loved, make it all better, make us feel heard and seen. And I don't want to knock that, because it comes from actually a really tender, sweet, special, important place inside of us, those young, vulnerable parts. But it can be so frustrating when again and again in an intimate partnership, we don't feel like those needs are met. And we haven't yet figured out how to start meeting those needs in ourselves. And again, don't get me wrong, right? Relationships are not just like, I'm not advertising that folks can heal all of their stuff just by building this relationship with themselves and with their parts, because we do need other people to heal this stuff. You know, trauma happens in relationships, and we have the opportunity to heal some of that in safe partnership. And a little disclaimer that I want to drop here, and I'll say periodically, is that none of this kind of work that I'm describing here is meant for people who are in an abusive relationship. If you think that you're in an abusive relationship, this is not the advice for you. This is for two people who are interested in growing together, growing up together, becoming more responsible, accountable, more open-hearted, and just having more ease between them. And I just want to name that here. So, right. So we do this healing work inside of ourselves, and then we get to show up differently in our relationship. And then we become available to kind of learn some different skills between ourselves and our partners for improving the relationship, for learning how to speak for our needs, speak for our desires, to learning how to speak for our parts, how to have and walk through really challenging conversations that might feel really scary, how to slow down breakdowns when things are starting to get heated and out of control. And the most important skill, in my opinion, is to learn how to really do connected repair work. Because as Tony Herbine Blank, the creator of Intimacy from the Inside Out, which is the IFS relationship model, I think it was her that said relationships are connection and disconnection, connection and disconnection. And so we really need to learn how to do repair. And part of the repair process is work we do, self-reflection, and then coming to our partnership and coming bravely to clean up whatever mess we may have made, or advocate for ourselves if a mess was made to us. And so repair is a whole other conversation that I love and get really lit up about. I'm sure we'll get into that the further we go here. And so this is not about perfection. This is not about getting it right all the time. There is no reality where I think that, someone just never makes a mess or steps on someone's toes or, misinterprets a moment. Relationships are really hard. They're not easy. They bring up all of our deepest stuff. And so I guess I just name that so we can continue to hold this whole conversation in just this blanket of grace and compassion and persistence, right? We can, right, in self-leadership, keep getting up, getting back on the horse, and keep healing individually and together. That is the drum that I'm beating. And I love in one of the IFS books, there's this line. I read it once and I'll never forget it. It said, I think it's by Richard Schwartz. I think it said, spaciousness is our birthright. And I love that so much. This spaciousness from our parts, right? This spaciousness inside of ourselves. Meaning that our parts are not like globbed onto us, that they're just not the ones that are driving the bus, that we have this restoration of choice and consent and consciousness and being on purpose for how we show up, to have that spaciousness inside of ourselves. Imagine what that provides in relationship when you get two people that are less easily activated and can stay in that activation, or can get out of that activation just a little bit quicker and in a way that actually provides some healing, relief, and growth, instead of just being in this loop around and around. The frustration of getting stuck in loops in partnership, whether you're dating and in that loop, or you're married, or just in a committed partnership around and around, or co-parenting together, or whatever. It's so tiring, so exhausting and frustrating. So it's not about perfection. I feel like I often read that the path to awakening and spiritual evolution is a path of living more from our heart. And so that's really my hope here in this podcast, is to help us live more from our hearts, to help any parts that may be just guarding and protecting our self-energy, our vulnerability, to kind of learn and be loved and learn how to soften and give us just a little bit more spaciousness so that we can play and connect and grow and enjoy this precious life that we have this time here on the planet. So that's the hope here with self-led love. It's developing this, really trusting relationship with ourselves and with our parts. And then from that foundation, stepping into our partnerships, into our relationships, into our friendships, our family relationships, all of it, with this trust and accountability within ourselves, and then to bring that into our partnerships. I always tell my husband, accountability is just so sexy, because there's a trust in that as we self-aware and can show up in our partnership with just, even when we think it's going to make us look bad, especially when we think it's going to make us look bad, when we can say, I know what I just did or what I've been doing, And I see the impact it has on you. And that is not who I'm choosing to be. And I am working with that part of me. I am, and I mean, if that's your truth, right? I am really working with this part of me so that I can help it, not hijack me, not take over, and so that I can keep growing and getting free. Because I think that's what we're doing here, right? That's what I'm doing here, is hoping that we can keep liberating ourselves from the cycles we get stuck in, from parts that no longer want to do these jobs working so hard that don't really work anymore, so that we can keep going, keep growing, and keep loving. Thank you for being here. And if you are interested in finding out more about working with me, feel free to head over to my website and send me a message or book an intro session. And then I just wanted to let you know before we go that I have 2 resources for you. One is an unblending meditation that you can get by going to my website, bahiamiller.com. It's right on the bottom of the homepage. And the second is a relationship responsibility self-led love checklist. And this helps you understand, what is my responsibility to tend to and take care of in the relationship? What is my partner's responsibility? And then what is our shared responsibility? And sometimes just like parsing those pieces apart, breaking them down, can really help us put the focus on what's going to move the needle in our relationship. So that is available at bahiamiller.com/checklist. I'm going to put all of this in the show notes. And thank you so much for joining me for episode 1. We did it. I did it. I'm patting myself on the back. I've had lots of parts about coming in and doing this podcast. It brings up a lot to put myself out there this way, but here I am, moving forward with all those parts of me, with their consent. And I hope that this serves you and serves your thinking. And if you like this podcast and you want to stay on the ride with me, please feel free to subscribe and leave a review. All right, folks, have a good day. Thanks so much.